Hi, Akiki here, and today I want to have a little talk about equity. I am sure that I've brought this up before, but it is such an important subject that I want to make sure that I cover it thoroughly, and I will be blogging about this also on my companion blog site. I'll put the link below if you're interested in checking that out. Now, normally when I'm doing these talks, I have the benefit of being in front of hundreds of people doing my signature workshop and pulling people out of their comfort zone. The activity that I do surprises people and gives them a common language that we can use to talk about equity. And I haven't found a way to convert that into a one-on-one experience yet. I do have a couple of suggestions for videos that you can watch. I'll put those in the description box below as well, but I'm just going to jump right into this. The idea of equity in a classroom is important for all sorts of reasons, but it's particularly important in a computer science classroom. That is because computers, technology, it can be a fantastic equalizer, or it can just create a huge gap among people. And it is very important that when you bring technology into your classroom, you do it in a way that brings people together and doesn't split them apart. So one of the things that we see is that when you give your students, all of your students, access to technology and you help them get comfortable with it on a daily basis, it helps them in many different subjects and it helps them in testing. Much of the testing that's happening now is moving to computers, and if students don't have access to those computers in their daily life, they are not going to feel comfortable with them when they go to test, especially underprivileged students or underrepresented minorities who might not have that at home. So we want to make sure that in our classrooms we're giving everyone access. But equality and equity are not the same, and I want to talk about that just a little bit. So in America, we are very used to equality. Two people should get the same benefits. They should get the same things. We grow up thinking about that. They got some, why can't I have some? And so we kind of have that feeling that equality is fair. But there are times when equal is not fair, and that's what equity is. So my favorite explanation of this is the 400-meter dash. If you think about people getting ready to start a race and they're going to go a full lap around the track, for the dash they need to stay in their own lanes. And that means that the people on the inside track, they actually have a smaller distance to go because the diameter at the ends of the track is smaller towards the inside. But as you get out further, the diameter increases and the distance gets bigger. It's so dramatic that the person on the inside track actually runs 400 meters. The person on the outside track, if they started and finished in the same place, would actually run 453 some odd meters. So it's quite a disadvantage. Because of that, when they go to start the race, the officials stagger their starting positions based on which track they're in. So because these people have a natural disadvantage, they have been given an opportunity to do something that other people are not, and they are advanced. And that helps them be able to run a more fair and equal race. The race just wouldn't be fair if they were all treated equally. Instead, they are given an equitable situation by staggering. So I hope that helps you understand that when I'm talking about giving extra help to people that need it, I'm not necessarily saying that this should be an unfair situation where some people are getting resources and other people aren't. I'm saying if there's a limited amount of resource to give, then it should be spent on the people who need it, and the people who don't need it should not be taking that resource from other people. There are a lot of ways that this works in practice, and it's not always simple, but it is something that I want you to keep in mind for your classroom, that equal is not always fair, and you do have to continuously look for those equitable situations where you can help students out, particularly with technology. If you have a student who doesn't have a computer at home and several students who do, then you want to make sure that you're giving more time to a student who needs to use the computer at school and can only use it at school so that they can get the same types of things done. You might also find that you need to pair a student who doesn't have as much experience with a student who does have more experience and is comfortable being paired so that those students can help each other out. This is not catering. This is helping. This is teaching. And we all know that the world isn't fair. Life isn't fair. But we're talking about an elementary school classroom here. We're supposed to be an incubator, a place where minds can come and develop, and we nurture them and help them get to the places that they need to be. Our job is to help every single student in our classroom. Every single one. And so we need to figure out how to make that happen. And it's not easy. It is challenging and it is exhausting. But there are a few things that you can do to take control over this in your classroom environment. Now keep in mind, not all of these might feel fair at first, but when you think about them, they really do provide a more equitable experience. So the first tip is to decorate to your demographic. Now, it's great if you want to make sure that your decorations, your posters, your handouts, all of those things represent the exact demographic in your room. That's a step beyond what's happening in most classrooms. But I would take it one step further and actually think about decorating to your minority demographic. Make sure that you show signs of understanding the entire group in your room, and make sure that you give them the opportunity to see people like them who are succeeding. Just having that reassurance and having that subconscious cue can help those students feel more powerful. Next, call on students randomly. It's very easy to start calling on students who we know are comfortable answering in front of a class. And sometimes we will find ourselves calling on the same students a little too often because we know that they are all right with it. But it reinforces this idea that some students are smarter or more skilled than others, and it makes the students who aren't getting called on feel like you don't even care or you don't believe that they can do it. So definitely use some kind of like a popsicle stick tool, or have a random name generator, or even like a number system where you can assign students numbers and then have random ways of choosing numbers. That tends to work relatively well. Also, allow for extra processing time for oral answers. I know that there are a lot of students out there who are introverted or shy, uncomfortable, or like my own children have processing issues, and they don't come up with answers as quickly as other students. So you can help, especially when you're drawing names randomly, you can help the whole room feel more comfortable if you just get in the habit of, after you call on the student, you repeat the question and then allow for a comfortable silence. So for example, an uncomfortable silence would be something like where you're just staring at them. Did you hear me? Something like that. If you restate the question and then you allow for a comfortable silence and maybe do something like, okay, and then give them a few seconds before signaling that you're ready for the answer again. So you can just say, okay, all right, what do you think the answer is? This should help take a little of the pressure off and make it feel like a more comfortable environment for students to participate. Next, I recommend working around homework. So it has been shown that homework actually increases the learning gap between students, especially with digital medium. There are a lot of students that don't have access to computers, specifically desktop computers, home laptops, even though they might have smartphones at home, they don't have great internet access, and it is a problem. So if you can avoid giving your students homework, do. Finally, provide a resource for anonymous comments. Some students understand that there's something that they're not grasping, but it's really hard to say that out loud in a classroom environment. If you can give them a comment box or some sort of way to express that they are missing some knowledge anonymously, then you'll know these things are happening. Yes, it might take a while before you can identify who needs that remediation, but without that comment box, you might not identify it until it's too late. So help students feel comfortable expressing their needs for a stronger learning environment. Now, in my time going around giving my workshop, my talk to teachers, I've found that depending on which part of the country you're in, there is a very strong possibility that you already believe that your classroom is as equitable as it can be. And it might be. You might be doing a very good job. But more often than not, a teacher just hasn't seen the signs that there's bias going on. Take a look at your classroom and look past just race, gender, and culture. Those are very important, but they aren't all that's important when it comes to equity. Things like learning disabilities, skill level, introversion level, perceived popularity, religion, socioeconomic status, all of those also affect your classroom dynamic. So make sure that you're giving your students a fair go no matter what their background. Make sure that your assumption of who they are and what they're capable of is not actually affecting who they turn out to be. They need to have the best shot at everything, so give them the benefit of the doubt. Give every single student the ability to believe that they can do this, whether it be computer science or anything else. And they just might surprise you. Okay, I think that's all I can get through in this video, but I would really love to know if you have had an aha moment about the equity in your classroom, maybe what gave that to you and what you did about it. If you have implemented any resources in your classroom to help your students feel more empowered, leave those in the comment boxes below. I would love to hear what they are. Please like this video if you want to see more things like it. Click subscribe and click the little alarm bell if you want to know when I post more. And if you have extra questions, don't forget to tweet me at Kiki versus IT. Until next time, happy coding.